How's it going, guys? My name's Shane. Welcome back to the Horror Basement, and today we have another movie review for you. So I was recently tricked into watching a movie. I was perusing through Amazon Prime, looking for some free horror movies that I could review that I didn't have to pay for, and I stumbled upon Stigmata from 1999. And my lovely wife told me that she remembered that movie from seeing it as a kid on TV, and she was like pretty sure it was a horror movie. So I decided to sit down and watch it. This is most certainly not a horror movie. I think it only tries to be in a few scenes, and even then it's not very effective. This movie begins in South America somewhere. I believe it's Argentina or Brazil somewhere. I didn't take very good notes. And it follows Father Anthony. Andrew. Father Andrew is a scientist for the Vatican, and he goes around investigating miracles, like if you saw the image of Christ burned into some toast, or in this case, a statue is crying. And while he's investigating the statue of the Virgin Mary crying blood, some little street rat hooligan kid steals a rosary off of a dead guy who also happens to be in the room. I guess this is his funeral or whatever. And it just so happens that said street urchin sells the rosary of this holy priest man to some tourist. And that tourist is the mother of the actual main character of this movie, Frankie. Now, Frankie, whose Christian name is Francine, which is ironic because this movie thinks it has a lot to say about Christianity. Frankie is a hairdresser who lives in Pittsburgh. Initially, I thought it was New York and they just were filming somewhere else, but now it's established that the movie does take place in Pittsburgh, probably because the big Catholic population there. So Frankie is a hairdresser and a self-avowed atheist, we learn later in the movie. So why her mother would send her a rosary as a souvenir is unknown. But as the movie's title, Stigmata, would lead you to believe, because of the haunted rosary, Frankie begins to develop stigmata, which, if you don't know, is when people who devoutly believe in the Christian faith exhibit the same wounds that Christ would have, or the Christ had on the during his crucifixion. So they get the holes in the hand or the wrist, and the lashes on the back, the cuts on the forehead from the crown of thorns, and then the fifth sign or wound would be the spear, which goes into your side and ended up killing Jesus in the biblical account of the story. So yeah, she is in the bath. She's taken a bath. She has 8 million fucking candles in her apartment. So it's amazing that she didn't burn the building down when shit started to go down. But she starts freaking out because her wrists begin to spurt out blood super aggressively. And she gets her friend to take her to the hospital. And these weird occurrences continue to occur, they're riding home on the subway, and she randomly walks up to a priest and some nuns that are also riding the subway, and asks if the priest is Father Andrew so-and-so. And when he says no, and they then asks if she needs help, she's like, "We're fucked anyway," was her actual line. And then the subway train starts to freak out, and that's when the lashes on her back from the whipping of Jesus begin to appear. And that's when Andrew's boss, some other priest guy, calls Andrew to go to Pittsburgh from the Vatican to investigate this. And in the end, it turns out that there was a grand conspiracy by the part of the Catholic Church, um, because the priest guy from the beginning, not Andrew, but the dead one that was in that South American church, had discovered a secret scroll that had the testament, the lost testament of Jesus. Uh, and the movie makes a point of saying, like, oh, all the Gospels and shit are from someone else's perspective. We don't have anything written in, like, a first-person account from Jesus. But this guy, who was dead in the beginning, he had it and was trying to get it translated. And that's why he is haunting the rosary and giving Frankie the stigmata so that Frankie and Andrew can team up together to defeat the corrupt Catholic Church and spread the true gospel of Christ. So the rest of the movie basically weirdly plays out as a almost like an Exorcist type movie, because it's not really clear, even though it's just this old priest guy that is haunting Frankie. There's this weird thing where, like, oh, if you have the stigmata, it's easier for demons to like latch onto you or whatever, because the closer you get to God, the more demons want to fuck with you. So the movie, the plot is nonsense, but everything, of course, works out in the end. And they rid Frankie of the possession and the stigmata, and she and Andrew actually kiss in the end, which, considering Andrew tries to beat the shit out of his boss at one point, he's probably disbarred from being a priest anyway, so it's fine that they make out a little bit. So this movie was a mess. Like I said, it came out in 1999, and the person who is credited with the music for this movie, is actually Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, and he makes some interesting choices. The score for this movie is a lot of like late 90s alt butt rock, along with some early like EDM stuff, like a lot of house music. Which fits very oddly with all the like Catholic super Christian imagery. And overall, the movie isn't particularly well acted. The main character of Frankie is played by Patricia Arquette, who is the little sister of David Arquette. She spends most of the movie screaming in agony because all this bad shit's happening to her, and being like covered in blood. Otherwise, either she's possessed and talking in like a weird like reverby demon voice that they added in post, which isn't a very good effect. The scariest part of this movie really is Frankie's medical bills, because she's a single woman living in the big city on a hairdresser's budget, and because of all this bullshit stigmata stuff happening to her, she ends up going to the hospital like 3 times in the course of like a week and a half. So that woman's financial situation is just fucked all to hell, because she probably doesn't have very good insurance. And just like Frankie's insurance, this movie was not very good, and I would not recommend you watch it. And that's going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. Leave a comment if there's any other terrible late 90s Christian films you want me to talk about. And subscribe to the channel if you want some more. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.